Hello. Today we're going to go over setting up the ConnectWise Manage app to have two-way communication within the SIGNL4 alerting app. So here you'll see we have the ConnectWise Manage app loaded up. The first thing we need to do is go down to the System option and then click on the Members option. And inside of the Members we need to go to the API Members tab, and then we're going to click on the plus sign to create a new item. And in here you need to create a new profile to use to connect to the SIGNL4 app. So for our purposes here, we're just going to type in SIGNL4 and -3 because we already have some created. And then for the member name, I'm going to type in SIGNL4 Derdack. Outside of that, we need to make sure that the role ID is set to the admin role, and then just put in the information that best suits your purposes for the rest of the options. Once you have that set up, go ahead and click on the Save button. And once that's done, you'll get the notice saying you've successfully updated this record. Once that happens, now we need to add an API key for this member to use to hook into the app. So go ahead and click on the API Keys tab, and then again we're going to click on the New Item button, and then go ahead and give this API key a description to best fit your needs to know what this is for. So for us, we're going to go ahead and type in SIGNL4-3 again, so we know that this is used to connect to SIGNL4. Once you set the description, go ahead and click on the Save button, and you're going to get both a public and private key that appears. We're going to need to copy these off to a place for you to have them, because you're going to need these inside of the SIGNL4 app. And once you leave this page, you won't be able to find the private key again. So make sure you save that off until we finish using it. Let's go ahead and save those now. Okay, now that the API key is created, what we need to do now is go back under Members. And inside of here, you're going to see all of your members inside of ConnectWise. And what we need to make sure of is that the user that you're going to be using inside of SIGNL4 has the same email address used to invite that user as you have inside of your ConnectWise user. This is how the ConnectWise and the SIGNL4 are going to talk back and forth and correctly identify what user is acknowledging and closing alerts inside of SIGNL4, and that's what's needed to update the tickets inside of ConnectWise. Now once that's done, our next step is to actually go into the SIGNL4 app and create the connector inside of SIGNL4 Web Portal. So go ahead and switch over to your SIGNL4 Web Portal, and once you're at the SIGNL4, make sure you log in with an administrative user, and then to create the app we need to go to the Team section, and then choose the team from the drop-down that you're actually going to be adding the connection to. So for our purposes, we're going to have the superhero team, which is already selected for us here. Once you have your team selected, go ahead and click on the Apps menu option, and this is going to open up a page of all of the app connections to your team. So what we want to do is scroll down till we find the ConnectWise Manage app and go ahead and click on the Create button. This is going to open up another page, and this is going to have all your information needed to create your ConnectWise to a connector. So go ahead and give it a name and description that best fits your needs for your ConnectWise app. Once that's done, if you scroll down under the configuration section, you're going to see an instance URL, a company ID, the API member ID, as well as the public and private API keys. So go ahead and enter your ConnectWise URL as well as the company ID that you have set up for your system, and then the API member ID that we just created, as well as the public and private keys that were just created. Once you've entered on all that top set of information, you'll notice that we have a couple of workflow names underneath of us. And we have these already set to SIGNL4 trigger signals for when you trigger in a signal. We have it set to update signals when you want to update, and then an update a ConnectWise ticket, as well as the custom fields to retrieve. You can edit these if you wish. Just know that if you edit these on this section, you're going to also need to edit them inside of the ConnectWise Manage app. Once those are all set or left as default as we have here, you're going to notice at the bottom we have a couple more options. Down here we have owner assignment when. Signal is acknowledged as your default choice, and what you can do is you click on the drop down, you can either leave it at signal is acknowledged or select signal is closed, or click on select all to use both. And what this does is whenever a user inside of SIGNL4 acknowledges a ConnectWise alert, it's going to automatically set that user as the owner of assignment inside of ConnectWise. And the same goes for closed if that option is checked. And if both options are checked and user A acknowledges it, they'll be set to the owner when they acknowledge. And then if user B comes in and closes it, then that user will be changed to the owner of assignment once they hit the close button. For our purposes today, I'm going to go ahead and click on select all to do both acknowledged and closed. The next option down here is the note options. And what this is Inside of SIGNL4, we have the ability to annotate our alerts, so we add a note to those alerts, and this is where those annotation notes are going to be added inside of the ConnectWise system. So as of right now, it defaults to the internal option, and that means all of your annotations from SIGNL4 will be copied over into the ConnectWise app, into the internal field. That way they're only visible by your internal users. Underneath of that, we have the additional details. And the additional details works the same way. It's any additional details that are not added inside of the notes via the annotations. Any additional information, those are going to be added to this field inside of ConnectWise, and that again defaults to the notes field. Once you have all this set up how you would like it set up, go ahead and click on the Create button. This is going to save and create your new app, and then it's going to take you back to the settings page of the newly created ConnectWise connection. In addition to that, it's going to start out as enabled, and you can disable that as fine, and then it's going to tell you what your status is. If you're, for some reason, having any trouble with the connection, the status will tell you exactly what the connection problems are. So once that's done, we now have the two-way connection set up inside of ConnectWise and SIGNL4. Now that that's all set up and saved, let's go ahead and head back over to our ConnectWise app, and let's go ahead and create ourselves a new ticket. So go ahead and click on the New button, choose the Service Ticket option. For our purposes now, I'm just going to enter in some generic information so we can see the ticket be created here and get sent over to SIGNL4 and then come back. Once your ticket is saved inside of ConnectWise, you can then go ahead and go over to your SIGNL4 Alerting mobile app, and inside of the app you'll see that we have a new alert come through, and we'll see here we have the ConnectWise SIGNL4 ticket. I'm going to go ahead and acknowledge this alert. And then back inside the ConnectWise ticket, if I click on the refresh, I'll then see my name inside of the ticket owner. From here, you can go back to your mobile alerting. And now if I close the ticket, we'll see the status changed from in progress to close when I refresh again. And now we have it set to close resolved, and it's still set to my name because I'm the one that acknowledged and closed it, so it's going to stay in my name. Inside of ConnectWise, you have the ability to send tickets to multiple different boards, and each board is going to have a separate team that accesses it, and part of that team would be the API member we create at the beginning. When we create this API member, we actually assign a service board for that user. This board is the tickets that this user is going to have access to, and this user is the API user we use to connect to SIGNL4. So whatever board we have selected here is the tickets that are going to be sent to SIGNL4. So if we need multiple different boards to be sent to SIGNL4, then we're going to need to create multiple different API members and then multiple different connections inside the SIGNL4 app. This can all be done. We can have multiple connections and multiple boards going into SIGNL4 without causing any duplicates, because it's only going to see the tickets that are coming through for the one board. As long as we don't have multiple connections with the same board, it won't cause any kind of duplication issues for our systems. The true power of connecting these two apps together is this allows your users to acknowledge, work on, and close your tickets from their mobile alerting app, allowing for quicker resolution and quicker notification on all issues coming to your team members. Thank you and have a nice day.